Anybody home? Oh, look at it, man. Yeah, right on.
How you doing?
I love it when a plan comes together, crying out loud.
Nice.
All right,
Awesome.
So this is huge, and he's one of the trainers, fighter pilot, and also you're an airline pilot too, right?
I am indeed, yeah.
Very, very cool. So we are at Luke Air Force Base, and behind us here is the 944th Fighter Wing's own. You get up there?
Absolutely. This is a 944th Fighter Wing. F-35 is our flagship, and Luke's the home of the 944th Fighter Wing Reserves, and also the 56th Fighter Wing Active Duty. And you are in our load barn here, so we can show you around what an F-35 looks like, and some of the weapons that we put on it, some of the gear that I wear when I fly, and we've got some of our maintainers here to talk a little more about what they do with their airplane as well. So thanks for showing up today, really appreciate it. So these are 2,000-pound GPS guided bombs.
2,000-pound bomb.
Yes, we have two different ones. This one's what you might have heard is a bunker buster, right? So this,
I've heard of that.
This is a reinforced one, and this is our regular Mark 84 body. But tell you what, I got a weapons expert here. Let me introduce you to Sergeant Matthews here. He's going to tell you a little more about what he knows about these things.
So I am Staff Sergeant Matthews. I am a weapons load crew member. It is my job to load the munitions, maintain the weapon systems, and ensure basically that we can have our pilots to do their job on the battlefield in the airspace. This particular model versus the other one, this is the, as you already stated, the burst version of it, which means that it is designed to burst, whereas the other one is designed to penetrate. They weigh about the same.
Okay.
The other one actually has a different casing on it that's thicker and harder, so it can penetrate better, whereas this one has more explosives. It can be configured in different ways depending on the mission of the Air Force at the time. Of course, we make sure it's safe. If this was an actual munition and it were to go off, we want to make sure that it's not going to go off when we don't want it to. The majority of it, though, when we get it, after we make sure it's safe, we're just double checking ammo's job to make sure that it is actually going to perform the way it is intended.
Now, these are hooks, of course.
Yes, sir.
And so they are designed to, is this a dolly right here that I'm pointing at?
It's a trailer.
A trailer?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
So now how do you get the bombs from here to the aircraft?
So we have a certain piece of equipment. The easiest way to describe it is it's a special forklift.
Okay.
It has a platform on the end of it that's designed for lifting. You can rotate and move the bomb in certain ways to make sure that it's aligned properly to actually latch into the racks. We do have a couple munitions that we can do by hand.
Okay.
But if there's anybody that can hand load a 2,000-pound bomb, I would like to see. So.
Yeah. Well,
Where's the rock? Where you need it, right?
The rock in the hole.
So this is a GBU-12. This is a laser-guided 500-pound class bomb, and it does generally the same thing. It's just smaller and operates a little bit different.
Now, when you say laser guided, that means you have to have a forward observer lighting up the target.
In some cases, yes. Other cases, the jets can track those targets as well.
Okay.
If there's a laser that it can lock onto the laser, it will follow that laser.
This is a laser seeker. So here in the front, it's basically that detects the laser, right? And then this is actually the guidance system here. So when this little, say like storage cone's out of the way, it will actually guide the bomb. It'll see the laser on the ground, and it'll guide to that laser spot. And so in the airplane, on the nose of the airplane, I have an electrical optical targeting system, or a T-FLIR, that shoots a laser out using infrared imagery. I can find the target on the ground, shoot the laser, I can drop this bomb, and then the bomb will go to where the laser energy is. It's not progressive like a GPS guided bomb would do. So it's kind of banging back and forth. They call it bang bang steering across the path. So we try not to run it out of energy by steering it too much.
I understand.
So that depends on how much laser energy and when we give it the laser energy. And then each bomb has an old code. So when I walk out to the airplane, I actually type in the right code that I want in my airplane so that it matches to that. So and my wingman may have a different code, and so that might depend on how we're doing things. So our bombs don't inadvertently find the wrong laser.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty slick. And like he said, we can also use UAVs can use the laser, helicopter could laser. And that's the cool thing about the GPS guided bomb is unlike this one where I have to support it all the way to the ground,
Right.
this one, I find, especially with this, I can find some very accurate coordinates via the sensors on our airplane, and then I can tell that my airplane will send the coordinates to the bomb, and then when I hit the pickle button, the bomb drops.
The pickle button.
That's the weapons release button. That's what we call it, the pickle button. Yeah, it's a red button inside the cockpit.
Yeah, pickle in the barrel, buddy.
And so the bomb will fly to the GPS coordinates. So it uses the satellites for the GPS, and then it goes right to the coordinates. And so the better my coordinates are, the more accurate the bomb is.
Of course.
Kind of thing. And this is a 2,000-pound bomb, so it makes a really big explosion. So basically, if you were to drop this in a forest of trees, it would make about a helicopter pad size hole in that forest of trees. Yeah, it's got some boom to it. It is pretty cool. And then, like he was saying, it can also be, I can set a fuse and I can tell it whether I want it to burst in the air or when it hits the ground or a slight delay. And then this one, I can decide how much I want it to go into a target or into a ground kind of thing.
That's the bunker boss.
Yep, indeed.
No kidding. This is nuts, man. The Air Force, the most powerful Air Force in the entire world is right here, the Luke Air Force Base. One of place.
So these are the same 500-pound class bombs. This is a separate unit that can come off using these 4 bolts.
I see.
And so
this is just more of the directional electronics portion. That's the main stuff inside of it.
Yes, sir. So that's just the computer control group. This is the big boy. This is the one that we load inside the bay. It has a longer range. Obviously, it has a little bit more explosive in it, but it's our AIM-120 Advanced Medium Range Air-to-Air Missile.
Well, this airplane can go up to 50,000 feet. And so we'll train anywhere from the surface all the way up to 50,000 feet. So the higher you are, obviously, the farther you can see. As far as how far you can see another airplane, that just depends on the airplane.
Sure.
And it depends on how well I know where that airplane is. So the sensors in our airplane with my helmet mounted display, in my helmet, if say I have a target locked up, I can look and it'll put symbology over the target. And then if I look right through that, I can see an airliner from, dozens of miles away, and then a smaller fighter-sized target, maybe 10 miles or so, plus or minus. It just kind of depends. But to really get good high fidelity to be able to identify what the airplane is, you have to get quite close if you don't already know to say, okay, that's definitely, in MiG-29 or something versus one of our airplanes. So that it's very important to us that we don't inadvertently shoot down one of our own airplanes.
Now that brings up a question for me, is that, I'm sure a lot of these aircraft have different signals that they emit, like an American aircraft, a civilian aircraft, Air Force, Marines, Navy, whatever. You're going to have different little transponder signals. Am I using the right term?
Well, like in my airline world, we have we use a transponder, and each airplane has a separate code, and that's how the air traffic control can determine who is where and airspeeds and altitudes and things like that, and how they can talk to us and track us. We fly around with the same thing, and so when I'm going to and from the airspace, I'll have the same transponder that will, again, I'm still talking to the same ATC people that I'm talking to in my airline job.
ATC people.
The air traffic control, yes, as I am with the airline people. And then once we get in the airspace, then we can change that to where however we're going to train that day.
Okay.
So this is a rack here that can carry these bombs on the wing. So
it carries this rack right here.
Yeah.
We're talking about carries these right here.
No, right now it's just this one.
Okay. That's got to be a lot of weight in the wing too. Oh my word! This has got to be crazy.
We can carry 4 of those on the wings, and then we can carry another 2 inside as well. So we can carry up to 6 of those.
So now this will carry 1 or 2 of those.
Carry 1 of those.
One of them?
Yeah. So that's kind of dependent on what we're using the airplane for, and what like you mentioned, depending on the mission is how we're going to load the airplane out.
Okay.
We can do a combination of between 4th generation, 5th generation. This being a 5th generation fighter, F-22s and F-35s. This is an F-35, obviously. And then we can fly with 4th generation fighters like F-16s, F-15s, F-18s. And between the two, we can do a fighter integration where we work together to utilize the strengths of each to accomplish a mission. So maybe I have the F-15s launch out first and shoot air-to-air missiles, while I roll in to drop the bombs, or there's many different combinations of how we can do that. Or maybe I escort F-16s in to drop bombs, and I suppress the threats on the ground and suppress the air threat as well. So it just depends on the scenario and the theater and what the mission objective is.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I appreciate you guys, and you guys out there in Air Garage AZ land, if you don't appreciate what the Air Force is doing, all the military veterans out there, shame on you. I love this country, and I'm a veteran myself, and this is basically a tribute to all the veterans out there, but these guys here at Luke Air Force Base are #1. So remember folks, like, subscribe, share. Hey guys, thanks for watching that last video. I hand selected a couple videos for you to watch right now. Click here.